Hey everyone, Spicy Toast Gaming here, and it is another sad day for Path of Champions. Patch notes just dropped, and pretty much all we got was nerfs. Now, obviously, they're nerfs focused for PvP, but since they're affecting a lot of the decks and champions in Path of Champions, we're just getting nerfed across the board, and we're getting no new content, which is quite a sad change of pace. So at the start of the year, we were getting at least something every single patch. So one patch, they added a couple new items to the game, somewhat changed up how a couple relics worked, buffing them, and it was quite fun. Then we'd be getting champions every month. Some months would be getting 3, other months 2, and then there was one month where we just got 1 new champion, which I thought was a pretty nice cadence. They're trying to do patches every single month, and at least getting something to look forward to every month was great. Path of Champions, or well, the game in general, used to be in a position where there'd only be really a patch every 3 months, which was terrible, especially if someone trying to make content for Path of Champions would be like, okay, every 3 months, bunch of content to make, but then over those 3 months, it's just the same game, no updates, no changes, nothing. But back then, we would be getting at least 6 champions when we would get an event drop. Where now, we've had 3 patches, and of those 3, we've only had 1 that gave us champions, and that was only 3 champions. And so it seems like we're going back to only getting content every 3 months, and we're getting less content. Rather disappointing. Let's get into the patch notes. I'm just going to be covering the changes that will directly affect Path of Champions. So up first, we have coin. This is going from burst to focus speed. Also just note that all the cards that they're showing here on the side, they're showing the old cards, not the new cards, which seems kind of dumb, but whatever. So burst speed means you can play this essentially at any time. Focus speed means you can't play it while you're attacking, while the enemy's attacking, or if the enemy has a spell. So essentially you can't use this to respond anymore, which is going to be a pretty big nerf to coin. So they're really handicapping the card, which is going to really hurt both Set and Jack, which is quite unfortunate. Next up we have Kaisa. They're just taking away her quick attack, just nerfing her, which is going to hurt quite a lot. Quick attack felt very strong on her. Now you'll still probably be able to grab quick attack with her second skin mechanic, but it is just making her weaker. It's going to make her a bit harder to evolve and just nerfing another deck. Thankfully, we did just get Nidalee, so Shurima does still have a strong champion, but now the gap between the Shuriman champions is just even further. Next up, we have Risky Venture. So this is the card in Jack's deck. It's actually also his champion spell. They're changing it to cost 1 more, so it goes from a 3 cost to a 4 cost. And now it's dealing 3 damage instead of 2, so just making it a little bit more difficult to play, which will be rather annoying. Yes, it'll do a little bit more damage, but it already was doing more than enough damage to kill most targets, and so it being even more expensive is really going to hurt the amount of times you can actually play this card. Next up we have Jack himself, and this is like the only thing that's actually a bit of a buff. Now when you refill mana for Jack, he's also going to get healed by 1 for every mana refilled. So he's now going to be able to sustain up a bit more. So this will actually be a pretty nice buff. Quite often Jack will get quite low from using the prize fights, which can drop him down to 1 HP. So being able to heal him up will feel quite strong, but overall his deck is going to feel weaker considering both coins and his Risky Venture are getting nerfed. Alright, Faithful Wolfdog. This is one of the cards in the Vayne deck. So they're just nerfing its stats down to a 1-2 instead of a 2-3. So the Vayne deck will just be a little bit weaker, and you're going to have to focus more on potentially just using Vayne herself and not really being able to rely on your deck as much, since one of your early game cards is now going to be a good amount weaker. Alright, now some changes for the Nico deck. So the Glacial Sorin gets its health nerfed by 1, and it's gaining Overwhelm, but if you played Nico, you already get Overwhelm with an item. So essentially, if you're a Path of Champions player, you're getting a health nerf and then nothing to help you out with it. Maybe they'll go back and change the item to something else, but honestly, I don't even think they've thought about that at all. Next up for the Crested Lionhawk, it's going up in stats by 1-1. Which is fine, I guess, but honestly, this is the card you normally cut first in the Nico deck anyways, especially until you get her up to like level 18 where this gets some cost reduction. And that's pretty much it, other than just some bug fixes that don't really make too much of an impact. So pretty much nothing but nerfs. Like the 1 buff is for Jack really, but that's offset by the fact that 2 of his other cards are getting heavily nerfed. And yeah, no content for Path of Champions, and it seems like we might just be going back to a situation where we only get content once every 3 months, except now we're getting half the amount of content, because before we were actually getting regions, we were getting 6 champions, not just 3. In the past 3 months, we got 3 champions, and that is it. So quite disappointing overall. Comment down below, let me know what you think of the patch. I was surprised that it was coming out so early. I thought it'd be next week, and kind of surprised at how terrible it is for us. Kind of was hoping we'd get something, even if it was just like 1 champion. Yeah, very disappointing this patch. Really feels like they're continuing to not care at all about Path of Champions, which is quite disappointing. Comment down below what you think of the patch. If you want to discuss it more, there'll be a link to the Discord down below where we've been discussing the patch so far. I'll probably be testing out Jack and potentially Kaisa later this week to see how they feel after these nerfs. So if you want to see that, like and subscribe, and I'll try to get that out. I hope you all have a good day.